I once met someone with big dreams and I smiled, for I'd heard it before and said it myself. Dreams are truly where it all begins. But the moment his first word revealed his timeline, I knew his aspirations wouldn't soar. That word was someday. My friends, someday is the silent assassin of aspiration, the disease that leads dreams to the graveyard. Dreams, unchecked by deadlines, simply become fleeting wishes. And wishes, powerful as they can be for the soul, don't build empires, they don't transform your health, and they certainly don't fill your bank account. I discovered early on that the fundamental difference between a visionary dreamer and an unstoppable doer is a single crucial tool, a calendar. You can visualize your future all day, every day, but until you commit to a specific date, until you draw that line on the calendar, your dream remains a beautiful balloon floating aimlessly. You must grab that string, anchor it down. That's the power of a deadline. It grounds your ambition, allowing it to take root and truly grow into something tangible. Haven't you seen people drift? Years pass, and the dream still hangs there, vague in the fog. Life slips by, and suddenly you look back, wondering where it all went. Don't let that be your story. Bring your dream down to earth, put it on paper, and stamp a date on it. Deadlines don't make life easier. They make life undeniably clear. If you want to lose weight, fine, but by when? If you want to elevate your income, great, but by when? Without that by when, it's merely a hope. And while hope sustains the spirit, it's a terrible strategy for monumental achievement. I remember committing to becoming a millionaire, not just someday. I wrote it down, a clear date beside it. The clock began to tick, and when that clock starts, you discover a new level of drive because now the dream is actively pulling you forward. That healthy pressure awakens you earlier, keeps you focused longer, sharpening your resolve. A dream without a deadline is like a bow without a string, beautiful to behold, but incapable of launching an arrow. Here's another insight I gained. The date doesn't have to be perfect. You might not hit it exactly, and that's not failure. That's refinement, a chance to adjust your course. Perhaps you missed it by 6 months, or even a year. So what? At least you're moving. At least the dream is propelling you. Without a deadline, you don't even have a chance to adjust. You simply drift, and drifting is truly deadly. So I ask you again, what are your dreams? And more importantly, when? That is the pivotal question that will reshape your future. Don't let life dictate your calendar. Seize the pen, circle the date. Decide when your dream becomes a goal, when your goal becomes a plan, and when your plan ignites into reality. Deadlines are non-negotiable. Without them, dreams dissolve like smoke. Growing up, I observed farmers. They understood deadlines implicitly. Tell a farmer, someday I'll plant my crop, and he'd laugh. The seasons don't wait. There's a precise window for planting, and if you miss it, there is no harvest. That's not philosophy. That's a universal law. Life, just like the earth, demands deadlines. Spring has a deadline. You can't just wait for inspiration. The soil demands the seed be planted on time. If you don't set your own deadlines, life will impose them upon you. Tax day arrives. Bills become due, seasons roll on, regardless of your readiness. The question isn't whether deadlines exist, but whether you're wise enough to harness them to your advantage, to master your destiny. I didn't always live this way. For a long time, I thought enthusiasm alone would suffice. I'd get fired up, fill notebooks, then fall back into old patterns. My dreams were vague, always one of these days. But one of these days simply piles up, leaving you buried under a stack of yesterdays with nothing to show. That was me at 25, broke behind, blaming everything but myself. Until Mr. Shoaf, a mentor, looked me in the eye and said, "Jim, Your future isn't going to change until you change. And the way you change is to pick a date. I distinctly recall writing down my first real goal with a real deadline. By the end of this year, I will save $5,000. At the time, $5,000 felt like a mountain. I'd never had such a sum in the bank. But something profound shifted when I set that deadline. Suddenly, every dollar had a purpose. Every purchase faced a new scrutiny. Does this help me hit my deadline or hinder it? That's the magic of a deadline. It forces decisive action. Without it, money, like time, slips through your fingers. With it, resources begin to gather, your efforts become intentional. Deadlines aren't meant to punish you. They are there to serve, to lift your dreams from the clouds and place them firmly within your grasp. Without them, you drift. With them, you build. I've met countless talented, intelligent individuals brimming with ideas, but they never commit to a date. 10 years later, they're often still thinking about it. Meanwhile, someone with less inherent talent or education, but with a calendar in hand, has built a fortune, fostered a family, forged a remarkable life. Why? Because they treated their dreams like appointments, not just wishes. Discipline naturally follows a deadline. Without a target date, discipline has no focal point. But once that date is set, discipline becomes your most powerful ally. It's not just about working hard, it's about working smart, working with intention. The clock is running, the days are counting, and that makes every hour infinitely precious. This is how ordinary people achieve extraordinary things. So I urge you again, don't just dream, don't just hope, don't just talk. Take that powerful dream, circle the date, and let that deadline shape your daily behavior. You will be astonished at how life bends in your favor when you give it a clear timeline, igniting your true potential. One of the great lessons I learned early on is that time is incredibly deceptive. A year feels long until it's gone. 5 years feels like a lifetime until you're looking back. I used to say, I'll get to it next year. And before I knew it, 5 next years had vanished. I was the same person, just older with nothing changed. That's when it truly hit me. Time is either your greatest ally or your most relentless enemy. The difference lies in whether you use it with intention, whether you tether it to a deadline. Deadlines give time shape. Without them, time is like water, flowing uncontrollably through your open hands. With them, time becomes a vessel. It holds substance, it carries weight. And once you feel that weight, you walk differently, you speak differently, you make different decisions because now the clock is an integral part of your game and it can be your friend if you wield it wisely. Have you ever noticed how much more people accomplish the week before a vacation? Why? Because there's a non-negotiable deadline. The flight leaves Friday at 10 a.m., no excuses. Suddenly, energy surges, calls are made, projects are completed, tasks are filed. The same work could have been done all along, but without the deadline, the urgency was absent. Deadlines unlock a level of productivity you didn't even know you possessed. I once heard a speaker say, "Pressure is not always a problem. Pressure is often a privilege." He was absolutely right. The pressure of a deadline signifies you're engaged in something meaningful. Without a deadline, there's no demand, and without demand, there's no growth. True growth thrives in the tension between where you are today and where you've committed to be by a certain date. Don't mistake deadlines for chains. They are not there to suffocate you. They are there to liberate you from the debilitating fog of indecision. They cut through the haze of someday and declare, "This is the day." And even if you fall a little short, you'll be 10 times further than if you had no deadline at all. Missing a deadline is rarely the tragedy. Not having one in the first place, that's the real missed opportunity. Let me ask you, how many books have you been meaning to read? 5, 10, 20? Now, the crucial follow-up. By when? If you say someday, your shelves will remain dusty with unread potential. But if you declare, I'll read one a month, starting this month, everything shifts. The calendar is ticking, and every night you'll actively seek those 30 minutes to draw closer to your goal. That's how you conquer a library one book at a time, not someday, but by a firm deadline. When I began to truly turn my life around, I didn't start with monumental deadlines. I started small, $100 saved in 30 days, a book finished in 2 weeks, a letter written tonight. Small deadlines are powerful. They build confidence. They train the muscle of discipline. Then I set larger ones, an income goal for the year, a lifestyle goal for 5 years. Once I learned I could honor those small appointments with myself, I trusted myself to keep the big ones. So never despise the power of small deadlines. They are your training ground for the magnificent. Remember, the dream is the vision, but the deadline is the driver. Without a driver, the car doesn't move. The dream inspires you, but the deadline propels you. That's how ordinary days transform into extraordinary years. Here's the key to lasting success. It's nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced consistently every day. But let me add this vital insight. Those disciplines gain immense power when they are tied to a deadline. A deadline doesn't just mark the finish line, it strategically shapes the daily race. It clarifies what you must achieve on Monday, what to tackle on Tuesday, and what absolutely needs completion before Friday. Without it, you wake up each day with no urgency, no edge. Life feels casual, and casualness, I assure you, causes casualties. How many people say, I'll get in shape one of these days? Days turn into years, and suddenly they're filled with regret, wishing they had started back then. The tragedy isn't their lack of a dream for good health, it's their failure to ever set a date. Imagine the profound difference if they declared by June 1st, I will be 10 pounds lighter. Now, the pantry looks different, the grocery cart looks different. That evening walk becomes a non-negotiable appointment. Why? Because the calendar is watching, holding them accountable. I once worked with a man who wanted to double his income. I asked him, by when? He hesitated, saying, sometime. I told him gently, if it's sometime, it will be no time. Finally, he committed, within the next 12 months. Perfect. Now, we could design a plan, measure progress, divide the year into quarters, the quarters into months, the months into weeks. That's how dreams transform into tangible strategy through the unwavering discipline of deadlines. Consider an architect. He doesn't say, we'll finish this building someday. No, he meticulously lays out a timeline. The foundation by this date, the walls by that date, the roof by another. Because those dates are set, workers appear, materials arrive, and progress unfolds seamlessly. A dream without deadlines is like a construction site without a schedule, just piles of bricks lying around, collecting dust. Deadlines, my friends, are what call those bricks into a magnificent building. One of the best examples of this power is a graduation date. A student enters school with the dream of a diploma, but what keeps them pushing through exams, projects, and late nights? That specific date on the calendar, when the ceremony happens. That's the ultimate motivator. Without it, school would drag on indefinitely. The same holds true for your personal development. Without a deadline, you remain a student who never graduates. I often ask people, what's your graduation date for success? Not for school, but for life. When will you reach your first financial goal? When will you move into the home you've envisioned? When will you achieve the vibrant health you've talked about? When will you mend that strained relationship? If you don't pick a date, it's easy to let another year simply vanish. But when you circle that day, suddenly you feel the irresistible pull. It's no longer just a hope. It's a sacred appointment with your future self. Now, let's be honest. Deadlines can feel intimidating at first. They certainly scared me. Because when you set a date, you've made a powerful commitment, and commitment can be uncomfortable. It eliminates excuses. If you don't reach the goal by the date, the reality is stark. But that's the sheer beauty of it. Deadlines force you to confront reality. They reveal whether you're truly serious or merely pretending. And the truth is, pretending feels safe, but produces absolutely nothing. Seriousness feels risky, but it produces profound, lasting change. My mentor, Mr. Shoaff, once told me, Jim, don't join the crowd that's just drifting. Set your sail, pick your port, and pick the date when you'll arrive. That simple advice changed everything for me. Once I had a deadline, I could measure distance, I could feel genuine progress. And progress, visible, measurable progress, feeds the spirit like nothing else. You may not be at your ultimate dream yet, but if you're closer today than you were yesterday, your deadline is doing its incredible job. So, remember, the dream is the picture, the deadline is the pressure, and the pressure produces the diamond. You don't get the diamond without the pressure, and you don't get the dream without the deadline. Here's a phrase I've used for years. The book you don't read won't help. I want to expand on that. The dream you don't date won't happen. You can carry it in your mind, share it with friends, even put it on a vision board. But until you assign it a deadline, it's like a check with no signature. It holds no power in the bank of life. I used to think I needed more inspiration, more information. And while those are valuable, I eventually realized I didn't need another book. I needed a date, because information without a deadline is merely entertainment. You read it, you nod, you agree, and then you return to old habits. But once you attach a deadline to that information, it becomes transformation. That is the monumental difference. Deadlines make you accountable, not just to yourself, but often to others. If you tell your partner, by next summer we'll take that trip, it becomes a shared commitment. If you tell your children, by Christmas we'll have that tree in our new house, they will remind you, they will keep you honest, and that's a good thing. Sometimes, the weight of others' expectations is precisely what keeps us on track. However, be warned, deadlines require discipline, but they also require flexibility. You don't abandon the dream simply because you got lazy, but sometimes you adjust the timeline because life has genuinely interrupted. That's wisdom. A farmer knows storms can delay the harvest, they don't cancel it, just shift the schedule. So, don't be so rigid that you quit if you miss by a month. Remember, the date is there to pull you forward, not to punish you. If you stumble, reset the clock and keep moving. What I've discovered is that when you live by deadlines, time paradoxically slows down in a beautiful way. You notice the days. They aren't just slipping by unnoticed, they are measured, counted, used intentionally. Every day becomes a purposeful deposit toward your dream. And that daily awareness is where the most profound progress occurs. People without deadlines live years without truly noticing. People with deadlines live days with powerful purpose. So, ask yourself, what dream have you been carrying around for too long without a date? Maybe it's financial freedom, writing that book, mastering a skill, or mending a relationship. Whatever it is, it's waiting for you to declare, by this date, it will be real. And once you do, life will begin to rearrange itself. Opportunities you once ignored will vividly stand out. The right people will appear. Your own energy will surge. Because the universe, my friends, respects a deadline. If you're worried about failing, let me assure you, failure isn't missing the deadline. Failure is not having one in the first place. You can miss a deadline and still win because you're moving forward. You can reset and keep climbing, but you can't reset what you never set. That's why tonight, I urge you to stop being casual about your dreams. Casualness causes casualties. Decide, commit, circle the date, and then let that deadline propel you into action. This is serious stuff, and deadlines don't just apply to money or career. They touch every corner of life: health, wealth, relationships, contribution. Every facet of your future depends on not just dreaming, but dating the dream. People say, one day I'll be financially free. Sounds nice, doesn't it? But the marketplace doesn't respect vague intentions, it respects discipline. So the better question is, by when? By when will your debts be paid off? By when will you have 6 months of living expenses saved? By when will you reach your first 100,000, your first million? These dates give your money direction. Without them, income tends to slip away through the cracks of careless spending. But once you set that date, you begin to question, do I truly need this purchase, or does my deadline need this dollar? That's how people of modest means build fortunes. They keep the deadline firmly in mind. Perhaps your financial situation is squared away, but what about your body? Are you nurturing that precious asset? You only get one, and it's irreplaceable. I've seen too many treat their health casually until a doctor delivers an ultimatum: change your habits or else. Suddenly, everything becomes serious. Dates are circled for workouts, checkups, meal planning. The difference? Urgency. Don't wait for a medical deadline. Set your own. Declare, by this summer, I'll be at this weight, or by my next birthday, I'll be walking 2 miles a day. Health responds to goals, but only when they are firmly tied to time. And what about relationships? It's easy to say, one of these days I'll fix things with my sibling, or someday I'll spend more quality time with my children. But years slip by, children grow, opportunities vanish. That's why I encourage people to set a deadline for love, for connection. By Saturday, I'll make that call. This week, I'll take my daughter to lunch. Simple, yet immensely powerful. Dreams, and indeed relationships, demand deadlines too, otherwise, regret inevitably takes their place. For those in leadership roles or aspiring to be leaders, understand this: a true leader not only dreams, but sets the pace for others. If you lead a family, set deadlines. If you lead a team, set deadlines. If you lead a business, set deadlines. People perform at their peak when they clearly know the target and the timeline. Without it, confusion reigns. With it, clarity rises, and clarity is the mother of confidence. Confidence blossoms when you know precisely where you're going and when you're expected to arrive. So, reflect on this. Deadlines bring vital order to chaos. They give structure to your grand vision. That's why dreams demand deadlines. Without them, life remains blurry. With them, life comes into crystal clear focus. Here's the beautiful truth. Deadlines don't limit you, they expand you. They stretch you, challenge you, transforming raw potential into undeniable performance. They take vague wishes and forge them into visible, tangible results. That's why in every single area of your life, you must stop saying someday and powerfully declare, by this day, because someday is a thief stealing your future. By this day is a builder constructing your legacy. There comes a moment when you simply have to raise the bar on yourself. You've dreamed enough, talked enough, planned enough. The critical next step is to decide what you want, and decide by when. That is the hallmark of maturity. Children say someday. Adults say this day. The difference isn't age, it's responsibility. Responsibility declares, I will do it and I will do it by then. So, if you've been drifting, set your sail. If you've been waiting, start the clock. If you've been postponing, circle the date. Don't wait until next year. Don't wait until it's convenient. It will never be truly convenient. Success doesn't wait for perfect timing. It waits for a firm decision, a decision powerfully backed by a deadline. And never be afraid of pressure. Pressure is what transforms soft intention into hardened commitment. Pressure is what makes steel strong, what turns coal into diamonds. Embrace the pressure of a deadline, and you will grow stronger than you ever imagined. You'll uncover capacities you didn't know you had, because deadlines activate the disciplined version of you, the focused version, the unstoppable version. So, don't wish it were easier. Wish you were better. Don't wish for fewer challenges. Wish for more wisdom. And one of the wisest actions you can take is to stop leaving your dreams in the land of someday and start powerfully bringing them into the land of this day. That single shift will alter everything. Imagine 1 year from now, you're sitting exactly where you are tonight. Will you be the same or will you be profoundly different? That depends entirely on the deadlines you set tonight. Set none, and a year from now, you'll likely look back and say, not much has changed. But set a few strong, real deadlines written down, and a year from now, you'll look back with immense pride and declare, look how far I've come. Never underestimate a year. A year is ample time to revolutionize your health, double your income, launch that business, mend that relationship, learn that crucial skill. But only if you begin now, and only if you pick the date. That's what unlocks urgency. That's what ignites fire in your belly. That's what compels action. So tell me, when? When will you decide? When will you commit? When will you stop wishing and truly start building? When will you draw that line in the sand and say, this is the date my dream becomes a goal? Answer those questions with unwavering honesty, and your future will unfold in ways you can't even imagine today. Remember, dreams without deadlines drift, but dreams with deadlines drive. And a driven life, my friends, is a truly fulfilled life. I don't want you leaving here saying, that was a good seminar. I want you leaving here declaring, this is the date. Circle it, write it, declare it. That's when the real work begins. The day you take the dream out of the clouds and tie it to the calendar is the day you take undeniable charge of your future. Think about the next 5 years. They are going to pass anyway, whether you set deadlines or not. The years will come and go. The crucial question is, when those 5 years have passed, will you be filled with pride or with regret? Will you exclaim, look what I accomplished? Or will you lament, I wish I had started back then? The answer depends entirely on what you do with the dates you set tonight. I've met so many people with extraordinary potential, talented, gifted, intelligent. But potential means absolutely nothing without deadlines. The graveyard is filled with people who had immense potential, but no concrete plan. Don't let that be your story. Write your own story. Pick the dates. Decide the chapters. Finish the book. And remember, it's not just about the grand things. It's the small deadlines that build the unshakable habit of discipline. Finish that book by the end of the month. Make that crucial call by tomorrow. Save that money by Friday. Little deadlines stack up into monumental victories, and monumental victories stack up into a completely transformed life. Stop living casually. Stop drifting. Stop hiding behind someday. Casualness causes casualties. Drift leads to despair. Someday leads to nowhere. But deadlines, my friends, lead to destiny. And that's exactly where I want you to go. Stand tall. Take the pen. Pick the date. Write it down. Declare it out loud if you have to. By this date, I will. And then fill in your dream. Don't be afraid of missing it. Be profoundly afraid of never setting it. The very moment you set that deadline, the dream begins to pull you. And when the dream pulls you, nothing, absolutely nothing, can stop you. So here's my final word. Don't just dream. Don't just talk. Don't just hope. Set the date. Circle it. Protect it. Run toward it. And when you arrive, you will know something incredibly powerful, that dreams only become real when they are decisively tied to time. That's the secret. That's the truth. That's why dreams require deadlines.